Black Dynamite stepped off the Greyhound at Port Authority with nothing but a duffel bag and a name: Jamal "Ghost" Williams, the dealer who'd been pushing blue vials in his neighborhood back in Chicago. The vials had a label he'd never seen before, a clean white V, stamped on pharmaceutical-grade glass. Not crack. Not heroin. Something new. Something that turned a skinny 15-year-old named Marcus into something that put 3 cops in the hospital before his heart exploded in the middle of Cottage Grove Avenue. The city looked different than he remembered. Cleaner. Shinier. Towers of glass reflected a sky choked with digital billboards selling everything from sneakers to salvation. And everywhere, there were them. Supes. Not the kind from comic books his brother used to read. These were products. Brands. He'd watched them on the bus ride in, Homelander selling wireless plans. Queen Maeve promoting yogurt. A-Train on energy drinks with the tagline, "Fast fuel for faster lives." The commercials made his stomach turn. Heroes didn't sell shit. Heroes didn't smile for cameras while kids OD'd on mystery chemicals 3 states away. Black Dynamite had seen plenty in his time. CIA black sites in Saigon. Federal agents flooding the South Side with guns and powder to fund wars nobody voted for. But this was different. This was capitalism wearing a cape, and it had infected his people with poison disguised as power. He found Ghost in a warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn. The kind of place where dock workers used to break their backs for union wages before corporations shipped the jobs overseas. Now it was a distribution hub. Crates stamped with medical symbols. Men in tactical gear who weren't cops. And enough compound V to turn every kid in New York into a ticking time bomb. Dynamite? Ghost's voice cracked when he saw him. The dealer was older now, softer. Corporate money had bought him a suit. "Man, you supposed to be dead. Or in a museum." The 70s called. They want their afro back. The streets called. Black Dynamite said, stepping into the light. "They said you've been poisoning children?" Ghost laughed. Nervous. "Poisoning? Brother, I'm liberating. You know what it's like out here for us. Supes get everything. We get scraps. Compound V levels the playing field. It's empowerment. Empowerment." Black Dynamite let the word hang. Marcus Thompson was 15. Took one of your vials. Died screaming in front of his mama. You call that empowerment? Acceptable losses. Ghost shrugged. Vought says. The name hit like a slap. Vought. Yeah, man. Vought International. They're the ones making this happen. They got programs. Community outreach. They want to bring the power to the people, and I'm the bridge. I'm an entrepreneur. Black Dynamite moved fast. 3 steps. Ghost's back hit a crate. The duffel bag dropped, and from it came nunchucks worn smooth by 1,000 sparring sessions. You a sellout in a suit. Now tell me where the supply comes from, or I'm gonna beat the entrepreneur out of you and leave the sellout for the rats. Ghost talked. He talked about labs in New Jersey. About Vought testing new formulas on volunteers, recruited from homeless shelters and halfway houses. About quotas and bonuses for dealers who moved product in underserved markets. About how the whole thing was legal because Vought had the FDA, the cops, and half of Congress in their pocket. Black Dynamite was halfway through the interrogation when the wall exploded. Not breached. Not broken. Exploded. Brick and mortar turned to dust as a figure in red, white, and blue landed in the center of the warehouse like a meteor wrapped in a flag. The shockwave knocked Ghost unconscious. Black Dynamite rolled, came up in a crouch, nunchucks ready. The Supe was young. Early 20s. Costume looked expensive. Chest emblem read Freedom Fighter in block letters. He grinned like a kid who just hit a home run. Citizen! Stand down! I'm here to stop this illegal Compound V operation. His voice echoed, rehearsed. Like he'd practiced it in front of a mirror. Black Dynamite didn't move. Who called you? Anonymous tip. Vought's community safety hotline. We keep neighborhoods clean. Freedom fighter's smile widened. You're welcome. I had this under control. Sure you did, Pops. But Vought handles real threats. You can go back to your bingo game or whatever. The Supe moved toward the crates, scanning them with some kind of vision power. This'll look great on my socials. #heroes work here. Black Dynamite's jaw tightened. This wasn't a hero. This was a billboard with a pulse. These crates are evidence. People died from this poison. And Vought will investigate thoroughly. We take crime seriously. Freedom fighter hoisted a crate like it weighed nothing. Now step aside, Grandpa. The grown-ups are working. The nunchucks moved. Not a killing blow. A teaching blow. Struck the Supe's knee at an angle physics didn't care about powers. Freedom fighter stumbled, shocked. The crate dropped. What the? You just assaulted a hero. I corrected a child. Black Dynamite said. This ain't a photo op. This is evidence of corporate murder. Those vials killed a 15-year-old boy. You gonna investigate that, or you gonna smile for your Instagram? Freedom fighter's eyes glowed red. Heat vision warming up. Old man, you just made the worst mistake of your life. Black Dynamite set his stance. Won't be the first time. The heat vision never fired. A voice cut through the warehouse, female, authoritative, coming from a speaker on Freedom Fighter's belt. Stand down, Freedom Fighter. Extraction in 30 seconds. Minimize collateral. The Supe's eyes dimmed. He looked annoyed. But 30 seconds. Freedom Fighter backed toward the hole he made in the wall. You got lucky, old man. Next time, stay out of Vought business. He flew off, crates and all, leaving Black Dynamite alone with an unconscious dealer and the lingering smell of ozone. Black Dynamite stood in the wreckage, understanding crystallizing like ice in his veins. This wasn't just a drug operation. This was a system. Vought didn't just make Supes. They made the crime. They made the heroes. They made the whole damn cycle, and they profited from every turn of the wheel. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Dynamite? Yeah, I know who you are. Name's Billy Butcher. The accent was British, rough. Saw what you just did? Saw it real clear, actually. Got cameras everywhere these days. You just kicked a Supe and lived. That makes you either very good or very stupid. Who is this? Someone who hates Vought as much as you're about to. Meet me tomorrow. Corner of Lenox and 125th. We need to talk about what you just stepped in. The line went dead. Black Dynamite looked at the hole in the wall. At the empty space where evidence had been. At Ghost, still breathing, still complicit. He'd come to New York for answers. Instead, he'd found something worse. A war he didn't start. A system he couldn't punch. And gods who bled publicity instead of blood. He picked up his duffel bag and walked into the night. Somewhere above, Freedom Fighter was already posting photos. #VoughtStrong. #CommunityFirst. The comments were rolling in. 10,000 likes in 2 minutes. Black Dynamite had fought the CIA. He'd fought the mob. He'd fought corruption in every uniform it wore. But he'd never fought gods backed by marketing departments. This was going to be different. The video hit the internet at 4:47 a.m. 47 seconds of shaky vertical footage shot on a Samsung Galaxy by a dock worker named Curtis who'd been smoking a cigarette behind a shipping container when the warehouse exploded. The algorithm picked it up immediately. Twitter first. Then Reddit. Then everywhere. Unknown vigilante fights Supe, wins? The thumbnail froze on the moment Black Dynamite's nunchucks connected with Freedom Fighter's knee. The Supe's face twisted in surprise. Genuine shock that a human had touched him. The comments section became a war zone within an hour. Fake. CGI. No way. Who is this guy? Looks like he stepped out of a Tarantino movie. Freedom fighter got worked by a senior citizen El Mayo. Vought gonna bury this in 3, 2, 1. They tried. By 6 a.m., Vought's moderation algorithms had flagged the video across 17 platforms. Takedown requests went out citing misinformation and unauthorized use of Vought trademarked hero imagery. But the internet was a hydra. Every deleted upload spawned 3 mirrors. By 8 a.m., it had 15 million views. At Vought Tower, 37 floors above street level, Ashley Barrett stared at her tablet like it was a grenade with the pin pulled. "Tell me," she said to the room of PR specialists who looked like they'd been crying, "how a 70-year-old man in a leather jacket just became our biggest crisis since the plane." Nobody answered. They knew better. Ashley had fired 3 people this month for making eye contact during bad news. The video played on loop on the conference room screen. Black Dynamite. Nunchucks. Impact. Freedom fighter stumbling like a child learning to walk. The optics were devastating. "Do we know who he is?" Ashley's voice could cut glass. "Working on it," said Trevor, the digital media coordinator who'd lost most of his hair in the last 2 years. "Facial recognition is pulling up, nothing current. But archives show a match to a Chicago vigilante from the 70s. Guy called himself Black Dynamite. Operated during the blaxploitation era. Dozens of arrests. No convictions. Disappeared in 1979. Blaxploitation? Ashley blinked. Like Shaft? Worse. Like Dolomite. This guy was a kung fu, nunchuck-swinging, conspiracy-busting urban legend. He supposedly took down a CIA operation once. Beat up the mayor. Fought a whole karate school. It's complicated. Ashley's headache intensified. "So we're dealing with a geriatric kung fu vigilante who just embarrassed a Vought hero on camera and doesn't exist in any modern database." "Correct. And the video shows him winning." "Technically, ma'am, freedom fighter was ordered to disengage before." "Trevor, shut the fuck up." Ashley pressed her temples. "This video says a human beat a Supe. It doesn't matter that it's not true. It matters that it looks true. And if people think humans can fight back against Supes, our entire brand collapses." She pulled up the internal metrics. Vought stock had dipped 2.3% in the last hour. The Seven's approval ratings were holding steady except for Freedom Fighter, who dropped 8 points. Homelander's Q-score was unaffected, but his social media mentions had spiked with questions. Could Homelander lose to this guy? Homelander didn't lose. Ever. Not in polling. Not in perception. And definitely not to someone without powers. Ashley's phone buzzed. "Private line," she answered. "Tell me you're fixing this." Madeline Stillwell's voice was honey over razor blades. "We're implementing full narrative control. Discredit the vigilante. Boost freedom fighters' hero metrics. Frame the incident as..." "Ashley, I don't want framing. I want erasure." Madeline sounded tired. "This man embarrassed a Vought asset on camera." The message to the public cannot be that humans can challenge Supes. It undermines 40 years of marketing. Understood. We'll bury him. No. Madeline paused. We'll recruit him. Offer him everything. Powers. Money. A contract. If he says yes, he becomes proof that everyone wants to be a Supe. If he says no, then we bury him. But we control the narrative either way. Ashley scribbled notes. And if he refuses both? Then Homelander makes a personal visit. The kind that ends with a heartwarming story about a confused old man getting the help he needs. The line clicked dead. Ashley looked at the video again. Black Dynamite's face. Older, weathered, but unafraid. The kind of face that had seen hell and walked back out. The kind of face that didn't negotiate. She sent the order. Find him. Offer him the deal. Document everything. By noon, Black Dynamite's face was on every news channel. Fox. Vigilante violence. When does self-defense become assault? CNN. Unidentified man confronts Supes. Experts debate mental health crisis. MSNBC. Is this hero worship or dangerous delusion? Vought had salted the narrative perfectly. Psychologists speculated about dementia. Legal analysts debated assault charges. Not one segment mentioned the Compound V lab. Not one mentioned the dead children. The story wasn't about what Black Dynamite had found. It was about what he'd done. In a basement apartment in Harlem, Black Dynamite watched the screens with the sound off. He'd expected this. The system always protected itself. The question was how long before they came for him directly. He didn't have to wait long. The knock came at 2 p.m. Polite. Professional. 3 sharp raps. Black Dynamite opened the door to find a woman in a tailored Vought suit holding a briefcase, and a smile that had been focus grouped to seem trustworthy. Mr. Black Dynamite? My name is Rachel Brenner. I'm with Vought's Talent Acquisition Division. Do you have a moment to discuss your future? He looked past her. 2 SUVs idling at the curb. Tinted windows. Probably more security than a presidential motorcade. I ain't interested in selling nothing. We're not asking you to sell anything, sir. We're offering you an opportunity. She gestured to the briefcase. May I come in? He stepped aside. Not out of courtesy. Out of curiosity. You learn more about your enemy when you let them talk. Rachel sat on his couch like she'd rehearsed it. Briefcase on the coffee table. Inside, glossy folders, contracts, and a single vial of glowing blue liquid. Mr. Dynamite, what happened yesterday was unfortunate. Freedom fighter is young. Enthusiastic. Sometimes that enthusiasm creates optics issues. She smiled. But Vought sees potential in you. Leadership. Courage. The kind of qualities we value in our heroes. I ain't a hero. I'm a man who stops evil. And Vought helps people like you do that more effectively. She opened a folder. We're prepared to offer you a full contract. 7-figure signing bonus. Medical benefits. Media training. And access to Compound V, administered safely under medical supervision. You join the ranks of heroes protecting this nation. Black Dynamite looked at the vial. The same poison that killed Marcus. The same lie wrapped in different packaging. You want me to take your poison and smile for cameras. We want you to reach your full potential. The world needs heroes, Mr. Dynamite. And heroes need power to face modern threats. Modern threats. He leaned back. That what you calling the labs? The dead kids? The dealers you put in my neighborhood? Those are threats you created. Rachel's smile didn't falter. I understand you have concerns about our community outreach programs. We'd welcome your input as a consultant. Your perspective could help us refine our approach to underserved markets. Underserved markets. Black Dynamite stood. You mean black and brown neighborhoods you use as test subjects? That's an unfair characterization. Get out. Rachel closed the briefcase. Slowly. Mr. Dynamite, Vought is offering you a chance to be part of the solution. To have real power. Real influence. If you refuse, you're choosing to remain irrelevant. And irrelevant men don't change anything. I've changed plenty without your poison. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Then I'm sorry we couldn't reach an agreement. But I should inform you, Vought takes unauthorized interference with our operations very seriously. What you did yesterday could be considered corporate sabotage. Assault on a licensed hero. We'd hate for this to become a legal matter. Let it. Rachel walked to the door. Paused. You know what the problem with people like you is? You think refusing power makes you righteous. But all it makes you is weak. And the weak don't survive in this world. She left. The SUVs pulled away. Black Dynamite walked to the window. Watched them disappear into traffic. They'd be back. Not with offers next time. With force. His phone buzzed. Same unknown number from last night. Saw the news. Figured they'd come calling. You tell them to fuck off? In my own way. Billy Butcher laughed. Good. Meet me tonight. Lennox and 125th, 9 p.m. You're gonna need friends, Dynamite. And I'm gonna need someone who knows how to say no. The line went dead. Black Dynamite looked at the TV. His face still on every channel. The narrative still against him. Vought still winning. But he'd fought losing battles before. And sometimes, losing the right way was the only way to win. The corner of Lennox and 125th smelled like roasted nuts and car exhaust. Street vendors packed up for the night, while a saxophonist played for tips outside the Apollo Theater. Black Dynamite arrived 15 minutes early, scanning rooftops, counting exits. Old habits. The kind that kept you alive when everyone wanted you dead. Billy Butcher showed up exactly on time, stepping out of a black van with plates that didn't match the vehicle. He looked like a divorce dressed in a coat. Weathered, angry, but still standing. British accent confirmed itself the moment he spoke. Black Dynamite. In the flesh. Gotta say, mate, you're better looking than the 70s photos suggest. Afro's on point. Who are you? Told you. Billy Butcher. He extended a hand. Strong grip. Working man's hands. I kill Supes for a living. Well, I used to do it for vengeance. Now I do it 'cause someone's gotta, and the government's too busy sucking Vought's cock to bother. Black Dynamite didn't shake. You kill Supes. When they deserve it. Which is often. Butcher gestured to the van. Come on. Got some people you should meet. People who've been fighting this war while you were wherever the fuck you've been for 40 years. Inside the van, Huey Campbell, nervous, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mother's milk, military bearing, suspicious eyes, and French accent, wearing a Hawaiian shirt like it was tactical gear. Butcher made introductions. This is the boys. We handle problems the law won't touch. Huey here lost his girlfriend to A-Train. Lost his family to Soldier Boy's collateral damage. Well, Frenchie's French. That's trauma enough. Mon ami, I am a man of refined suffering, Frenchie said, offering Black Dynamite a flask. Cognac? I'm good. Spoke up, voice measured. You're the guy from the video. Took down freedom fighter with nunchucks. Didn't take him down. Made him think twice. In our world, that's the same thing, Butcher said. Supes ain't used to resistance. One punch back and they don't know what to do. You proved humans can fight back. That's dangerous to Vought. Which means you're useful to us. Black Dynamite leaned against the van wall. What do you want? Same thing you do. To stop Vought from poisoning the world. But we got resources. Intel. Connections. And this. Butcher pulled a small case from under a seat. Inside, vials of glowing green liquid. Temp V. 24 hours of soup powers. Levels the playing field. More poison. Temporary poison. Butcher corrected. Wears off. No permanent damage if you're careful. We use it to fight fire with fire. Black Dynamite looked at the vials. Same glow. Different color. Same lie. I don't need powers to fight. Yeah, you do. Cut in. Look, I respect what you did yesterday. But you got lucky. Freedom fighter's a C-lister. What happens when Vought sends A-Train? Or Homelander? You gonna nunchuck your way out of heat vision? I'll find a way. Butcher laughed. Stubborn bastard. I like that. But stubbornness don't stop laser eyes, mate. Huey, who'd been quiet, finally spoke. Why won't you take it? I mean, if it helps you save people. Black Dynamite met his eyes. Because the moment you take their power, you play their game. They want everyone hooked. Dependent. Addicted to being more than human. That's how they control you. I take that vial, I become what I'm fighting. Even if people die because you weren't strong enough? MM's voice had an edge. People die because Vought makes poison and calls it empowerment. That ain't on me for refusing it. That's on them for making it. Silence filled the van. Frenchie broke it first. He has a point. The Americans, they always want the quick solution. The drug. The power. They never ask what it costs. Butcher sighed, putting the case away. All right. No temp V. But you're still a target. Vaught's gonna escalate. They tried recruitment. That failed. Next comes intimidation. Then elimination. We can help you survive that. How? Intel. We know where Vaught's weak. We know which Supes have skeletons. We know how to fight dirty. Butcher pulled out a tablet, showing surveillance photos. This is a Compound V lab in Newark. Not the one you hit. A bigger one. They're testing a new formula. More stable. Higher success rate. If they perfect it, every dealer in America gets an upgrade. More kids die. More soldiers. More collateral. Black Dynamite studied the photos. Guards. Scientists. Trucks with Vought logos. You want me to hit it? We want to hit it together. Your skills. Our intel. We cripple their supply chain, we save lives. And you get your revenge. Damn right I do. Butcher's eyes went cold. But revenge that saves lives is still saving lives. Don't matter why you do the right thing, long as it gets done. Black Dynamite considered it. These men were broken. Butcher was obsessed. Mim was traumatized. Huey looked like a strong wind would snap him. Frenchie was. Frenchie. But they were fighting. Actually fighting. Not talking. Not marching. Fighting. I work alone. You die alone. Said. Vaught's got unlimited resources. Unlimited Supes. You're one man. One man's enough if he's got the right target. Butcher grinned. See, that's where you're wrong, mate. One man's a statement. A team's a fucking war. And Vaught's scared of wars they can't control. Black Dynamite moved toward the van door. I appreciate the offer. But I don't trust Temp V. And I don't trust people who use it. Even if we're the only ones fighting? He asked. Especially then. You take their poison, you become them eventually. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually. He opened the door. I've seen it before. Good men taking shortcuts. Ends never justify the means when the means corrupt the ends. Butcher didn't stop him. Offer stands, Dynamite. You change your mind, you got my number. But when Homelander comes, and he will come, don't say I didn't warn you. Black Dynamite stepped into the Harlem night. Behind him, the van door closed. The boys had their war. He had his. But as he walked back to his apartment, he couldn't shake MM's question, what happens when Vought sends someone you can't beat? He'd fought impossible odds before. CIA death squads. Mafia hit teams. Corrupt politicians with armies. But those were men. Fallible. Mortal. Homelander wasn't. Back in the van, Butcher watched Black Dynamite disappear into the crowd. He's gonna get himself killed, Huey said. Yeah, Butcher agreed. But he's gonna make Vought bleed first. And when he does, the whole world's gonna see it. Sometimes, mate, dying right is more powerful than living wrong. Mim loaded his gear. So what's the play? We hit the Newark lab ourselves. Let Dynamite do his thing. When Vought sends their heavy hitters after him, we document it. Every punch. Every civilian casualty. Every time they prove they're the monsters we say they are. You're using him as bait. I'm giving him the fight he wants and using it to burn Vaught's house down. Butcher lit a cigarette. Difference between me and him? I know power's the only language Supes understand. He thinks integrity matters. We're both right. We're both wrong. But together, even if he don't know it, we might actually win this thing. Frenchie raised his flask. To the man who says no in a world that only understands yes. They drank. And across the city, in Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett updated a file labeled Black Dynamite Escalation Protocol. The next phase was about to begin. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. at a Vought-owned community center in Brooklyn, the kind of place with fresh paint, new basketball hoops, and a corporate logo bigger than the American flag. The center had been closed for renovations for 3 weeks. Today, it reopened for exactly one purpose. Homelander stood in the middle of the gymnasium, cape draped perfectly, smile rehearsed to the point of automation. He'd done 1,000 of these. Photo ops with veterans. Handshakes with mayors. Staged, surprise visits to schools where every child had been vetted, scrubbed, and taught to cry on cue. But this wasn't a photo op. This was a demonstration. Ashley had briefed him in the SUV. The target is non-compliant. He rejected our recruitment offer. He's becoming a symbol of resistance. We need him co-opted or discredited. Your job is to be charming, offer him the world, and make him look unreasonable if he refuses. And if charm doesn't work? Homelander's smile never reached his eyes. Then you do what you do best. But optics, Homelander. We need this to look like his choice, not our enforcement. Now, waiting in the empty gym, Homelander ran his tongue over his teeth. He'd crushed men for less than what Black Dynamite had done. Embarrassed a Vought hero. Challenged the narrative. Made people question. Questions were dangerous. Questions led to doubt. Doubt led to congressional hearings, stock drops, and angry calls from investors who expected superheroes to be profitable. The door opened. Black Dynamite walked in alone. No security. No backup. Just a man in a leather jacket and jeans, carrying himself like he owned the building. Homelander's smile widened. Black Dynamite! Wow. Wow. I have to say, I'm a huge fan. The video? That move with the nunchucks? Incredible. You've got real talent. You, Homelander. The one and only. Arms spread wide. Showman's pose. Look, I know we got off on the wrong foot with Freedom Fighter. Kid's still learning. But I wanted to meet you personally, man to man, and talk about what you're really trying to accomplish here. Black Dynamite didn't move closer. I'm stopping poison from killing kids. And that's heroic. Truly. But here's the thing, you're fighting a war you can't win alone. Compound V, the distribution networks, the infrastructure, it's too big for one person. Even someone as skilled as you. I've taken down bigger. Have you? Homelander's smile tightened. See, I did some research. CIA operations in the 70s. Impressive. But that was 50 years ago. The world's changed. The threats are bigger. Faster. Stronger. You're still human. Fragile. Mortal. How long before that catches up with you? Long enough. Homelander laughed. It sounded genuine. It wasn't. I like you? I really do. You've got balls. But balls don't stop bullets. They don't stop Supes. What you need is power. Real power. And Vought can give you that. He gestured to a case on the floor. Inside, a vial of Compound V, glowing like bottled starlight. 1 dose. Administered under medical supervision. You'd keep your skills, your experience, your integrity, but you'd finally have the strength to match your conviction. Imagine it. Black Dynamite upgraded. A hero for the modern age. You could save so many more people. Black Dynamite looked at the vial. Then at Homelander. You don't give a damn about saving people. The smile froze. Excuse me? You heard me. You're a product. A billboard with a pulse. Vought made you, and they own you. Every word you say is scripted. Every move you make is focus grouped. You ain't a hero. You're a corporate mascot in a cape. Silence. Homelander's jaw clenched. The smile stayed, but his eyes went flat. That's a pretty hostile thing to say to someone trying to help you. You ain't trying to help me. You're trying to shut me up. Turn me into another sellout with powers so Vought can control the narrative. But I don't need your poison, and I don't need your permission to do what's right. Homelander took a step forward. The floor cracked under his boot. You think you're special? You think you're the one person who can stand up to Vought? I've dealt with 100 guys like you. Idealists. Martyrs. Every single one ended up 6 feet under or begging for relevance on a street corner. Then I'll be 101. You'll be nothing. Homelander's voice dropped. The pretense of charm evaporated. You're a relic. A joke. A old man playing dress-up in a world that left you behind. You want to fight Vought? Go ahead. But when I'm done with you, nobody's gonna remember your name. They're gonna remember the tragic story of a mentally ill vigilante who needed help and refused it. Black Dynamite met his eyes. Didn't blink. You're scared. What? You're scared. I can see it. You're scared that people might realize they don't need you. That humans can fight back. That all your power don't mean shit if people stop believing in you. Homelander's fists clenched. Heat vision flickered red behind his pupils. The air in the gym warmed 10 degrees. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I know fear when I see it. I've seen it in dictators, in warlords, in every man who built his power on a lie. And you're the biggest lie of all. You ain't a hero. You're a scared little boy in a costume, terrified that one day the world's gonna see you for what you really are. Homelander moved. Faster than thought. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next, his hand was around Black Dynamite's throat, lifting him off the ground. The grip was iron. The rage was nuclear. Say that again. Homelander whispered. Say it again and I'll show you what I really am. Black Dynamite's voice rasped, but it didn't shake. You're a puppet. And Vought pulls the strings. The heat vision flared. Red light filled the gym. The temperature spiked. Homelander's hand trembled with the effort of not crushing the life out of this insignificant, powerless, infuriating man who refused to kneel. A voice cut through the rage. Homelander. Stand down. Madeline Stillwell. She'd entered through a side door, heels clicking on hardwood, voice calm as an executioner. Behind her, Ashley, pale as a ghost, and 2 security personnel with cameras. We're documenting this meeting, remember? For the press kit. Homelander's grip loosened. Black Dynamite dropped, gasping. The heat vision dimmed. Madeline approached, smile professional. Mr. Dynamite, I apologize for Homelander's enthusiasm. He's very passionate about protecting people. Sometimes that passion overwhelms his better judgment. Black Dynamite stood, rubbing his throat. Bruises already forming. That what you call choking civilians? Passion? I call it a misunderstanding. Madeline's tone could freeze hell. You made some very serious accusations. Homelander responded emotionally. But no harm done. You're still breathing. This time. Every time. Madeline corrected. Because Vought doesn't harm civilians. We protect them. Even when they're ungrateful. Black Dynamite looked at Homelander. The Supes' chest heaved, fists still clenched, eyes still burning with barely restrained violence. A god on a leash. You should take the offer. Madeline continued. The world's dangerous. You've made enemies. Powerful enemies. Compound V would give you a fighting chance. It's not too late to choose the winning side. I don't choose sides, Black Dynamite said. I choose what's right. And what's right is getting yourself killed. Ashley blurted out, then immediately regretted it. If that's what it takes. Madeline sighed. Then I'm afraid we can't help you. But let me be clear, Vought will continue its operations. Our heroes will continue protecting communities. And individuals who interfere with those operations will face legal consequences. This is your last warning. Wasn't asking for warnings. I was delivering one. Black Dynamite turned to Homelander. Stay out of my way. I'm coming for Vought. For the labs. For the dealers. For everyone who profits from dead children. You get in my way, I'll make you bleed just like I did Freedom Fighter. Homelander's laugh was pure venom. You'll make me bleed? I'm the strongest man alive. I'm a god. And you're a nobody who got lucky once. Gods bleed too. They just don't like admitting it. Black Dynamite walked toward the door. Madeline didn't stop him. Neither did Homelander, though every muscle in his body screamed to. At the threshold, Black Dynamite paused. One more thing. That vial you offered? It killed a kid named Marcus Thompson. 15 years old. His mama's name is Denise. She lives on Cottage Grove in Chicago. You ever want to know what your product does, go tell her what you told me. That compound V gives people power. See what she says? He left. The door closed. Homelander stood frozen, trembling with rage so pure it felt religious. I'm going to kill him, he said quietly. No, Madeline said. Not yet. First, we destroy his credibility. Make him look insane. Dangerous. A threat to public safety. Then you kill him. And when you do, you'll be a hero protecting civilians from a deranged vigilante. Ashley pulled up her tablet. I'll start the media campaign. Mental illness angle. History of violence. We'll have psychiatrists on CNN by tonight. Homelander didn't respond. He was still staring at the door. Still feeling the echo of Black Dynamite's words. You're scared. He wasn't scared. He was Homelander. He could level cities. Crush armies. Do whatever the fuck he wanted. But for the first time in years, someone had said no to his face and walked away alive. And the cameras had caught every second. Madeline watched him. This ends soon, Homelander. One way or another. But it ends our way. Understood? Understood, he said. But in his mind, he was already imagining the sound Black Dynamite's bones would make when he finally got to snap them. A-Train sat in the Vought conference room trying not to look like his heart was about to explode. The room was glass and steel, 40 floors up, with a view of Manhattan that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Madeline Stillwell sat across from him, Ashley Barrett beside her, both wearing expressions that said this wasn't a negotiation. You've seen the footage, Madeline said, sliding a tablet across the table. The video played for the 30th time that day. Black Dynamite. Freedom Fighter. The nunchuck strike that made a Supes look mortal. 13 million views now. Climbing every hour. Yeah, I've seen it, A-Train muttered. He'd seen it so many times he had it memorized. Every angle. Every comment section roasting Freedom Fighter. And by extension, every Supe who'd ever claimed invincibility. Freedom Fighter is benched indefinitely, Ashley said. His Q score dropped 16 points. Sponsors are pulling out. We need a reset. A strong reset. What's that got to do with me? Madeline leaned forward. You're going to send a message. To Black Dynamite. To the public. To everyone who thinks that video means humans can fight Supes. A-Train's stomach dropped. You want me to kill him? I want you to stop him, Madeline corrected. He's been operating out of a community center in Harlem. Organizing. Spreading anti-Vought sentiment. Recruiting people to his cause. It's becoming a problem. So send Homelander. Homelander is too visible right now. The optics of America's greatest hero fighting a 70-year-old man would be complicated. Madeline's smile was surgical. But you're fast. Efficient. You can make this look like an accident. A tragedy. Vigilante caught in crossfire during routine hero patrol. Clean. A-Train's jaw tightened. He'd killed before. Huey's girlfriend, Robin. Crushed her by accident during a high-speed chase while he was high on Compound V and running from his own demons. That death haunted him. Madeline knew it. Everyone knew it. But Vought had buried it under legal fees and NDAs. This wouldn't be an accident. What if I say no? Ashley's laugh was humorless. Then your contract gets reviewed. Your performance gets scrutinized. Your health issues become public knowledge. And you spend the rest of your life doing mall openings in Cleveland. A-Train's heart was a time bomb, enlarged from years of the abuse. The doctors said one more major spike and it'd give out completely. He'd been clean for 3 months. 3 months of cardio rehab, therapy, and pretending he wasn't terrified every time his chest tightened. I'm not killing civilians. You're stopping a terrorist, Madeline said. Black Dynamite has assaulted Vought personnel, interfered with legal operations, incited violence. He's a clear and present danger. Stopping him is your job. He's not a terrorist. He's what? Ashley's eyes narrowed. A hero? Is that what you were going to say? Because heroes don't attack other heroes. Heroes don't undermine institutions. Heroes work within the system. A-Train looked at the video again. Black Dynamite's face. Determined. Unafraid. The kind of face that used to stare back at him in the mirror before Vought taught him to smile for cameras and bury his conscience under brand deals. When do you want it done? Today, Madeline said. He's at the community center now, teaching self-defense to local kids. Telling them they don't need Supes to protect them. She paused, searching for the word. Problematic. A-Train stood. His legs felt weak. And if civilians get hurt? Then we spin it as his fault. He chose to operate in a populated area. He put innocent people at risk. Vought will cover the funerals. Generous settlements. It'll be tragic, but ultimately it'll prove why vigilantes are dangerous. Ashley handed him a burner phone. Call when it's done. We'll have a media team ready. A-Train took the phone. Felt its weight. Felt the weight of what he was about to do. Make it count, Madeline said. Your career depends on it. He left without another word. The community center was a converted warehouse on 135th Street. Peeling paint. Basketball hoops with no nets. But inside, it was alive. 20 kids, ages 8 to 17, stood in rows practicing blocks and strikes under Black Dynamite's instruction. Defense ain't about power, Black Dynamite said, correcting a girl's stance. It's about leverage. Angles. Using your opponent's force against them. Don't matter how big they are. Physics don't care about size. A boy in the back, couldn't be more than 12, raised his hand. What if they got superpowers? Black Dynamite smiled. Same principle. Supes think powers make them invincible. That's their weakness. They don't train. Don't strategize. They rely on strength. You exploit that. How? Environment. Misdirection. Hit what they don't expect. A Supes knee bends the same way yours does. Their eyes react to threats. You make them react, you control the fight. The kids absorb it like gospel. These weren't rich children. These were the ones Vought's cameras never showed. The ones who lived 3 blocks from where Marcus Thompson died. The ones who knew Supes as property damage, not saviors. Outside, A-Train watched through a cracked window. His heart rate climbed. 160 BPM. 170. The cardio monitor on his wrist flashed yellow. Warning. He popped a beta blocker. It'd slow him down, but it'd keep him alive. The plan was simple. Burst through the wall at super speed. Grab Black Dynamite. Gone before anyone could react. Drive him 20 miles out, stage an accident. Tragic. Clean. But those kids. A-Train had a brother once. Younger. Used to look at him the way these kids looked at Black Dynamite. Like he was someone worth believing in. His brother died in a drive-by when A-Train was 19. Wrong place, wrong time. The cops didn't care. Vought didn't care. Nobody cared until A-Train got powers and became marketable. He activated the burner. One call and he could walk away. Tell Madeline it was too risky. Too public. But then he'd lose everything. The contract. The fame. The illusion that he mattered. He put the phone away. Took a breath. And moved. The wall exploded inward at 400 miles per hour. Brick and mortar became shrapnel. Kids screamed. Black Dynamite shoved 3 of them behind him as A-Train materialized in the center of the room, vibrating with kinetic energy, eyes wild. Black Dynamite! You're under arrest for assault on a Vought hero and incitement to violence. Stand down! The kids scattered. Some ran for exits. Others froze in terror. A-Train's vision blurred. Too much adrenaline, too much speed. His heart hammered. 185 BPM. Black Dynamite stood firm. You ain't a cop. And this ain't an arrest. Don't make this harder than it has to be. A-Train's voice cracked. He hated how desperate he sounded. You came here to kill me. In front of children. That's what Vought told you to do. I came here to stop a terrorist. You came here because you're a coward who follows orders. A-Train's fist blurred. Super speed punch aimed at Black Dynamite's chest. Enough force to shatter ribs. Black Dynamite moved. Not fast. Smart. He'd been watching A-Train's stance, his weight distribution. The punch came high. Black Dynamite dropped low, swept the leg. A-Train stumbled, just for a second, but at super speed, a second was an eternity. His momentum carried him into a support beam. The impact cratered the concrete. You're fast, Black Dynamite said. But you're sloppy. You don't think. You just run. A-Train spun, furious. Another attack. This time a blur of punches. 20. 30. Too fast to count. Black Dynamite couldn't block them all. 3 connected. Ribs cracked. Blood filled his mouth. He went down hard. The kids who hadn't escaped were huddled in a corner. One of them, the 12-year-old boy, was crying. A-Train stood over Black Dynamite, breathing hard. His heart screamed. 195 BPM. The monitor flashed red. Stay down, A-Train said. Just stay down. Let me take you in. It doesn't have to end like this. Black Dynamite coughed blood. Yeah. It does. He threw a handful of dust, pulverized brick from the wall, directly into A-Train's eyes. A-Train screamed, stumbling back. Blind. Panicked. He swung wildly, super speed fists demolishing everything they touched. The wall. The floor. A basketball hoop that crashed down inches from where the kids huddled. Black Dynamite grabbed a length of rebar from the rubble. Waited. Listened. A-Train's footsteps were erratic. Panicked. Predictable. When A-Train rushed past, Black Dynamite drove the rebar into the floor at ankle height. A-Train hit it at 300 miles per hour. The impact flipped him. He crashed through the opposite wall, tumbling into the street outside. His ankle wasn't broken. Compound V made his bones dense, but the pain was real. Humiliating. Black Dynamite limped to the hole in the wall. Blood dripped from his split lip. Ribs screamed with every breath. A-Train lay in the street, groaning. Passers-by filmed on their phones. Sirens wailed in the distance. You could have killed those kids, Black Dynamite said. A-Train looked up. His face was a mess. Dust. Blood. Shame. I was just following orders. That's what they all say. A-Train's phone buzzed. Madeline. He didn't answer. Black Dynamite turned back to the community center. The structure was unstable. Cracks spiderwebbed up the walls. Inside, the 12-year-old boy emerged from the rubble, helping a younger girl who twisted her ankle. Everybody out! Black Dynamite shouted. Building's coming down! They evacuated. 15 kids made it out. 5 were inside when the ceiling gave way. The collapse took 4 seconds. Concrete. Steel. Dust. When the silence came, Black Dynamite was digging with his bare hands. Blood. Broken nails. He pulled the girl out. Alive. Unconscious. Then a boy. Also alive. The third body didn't move. Jamal Harris. Age 14. Crushed under a support beam that A-Train's wild punches had destabilized. Black Dynamite held the boy's body. The crowd watched. Cameras filmed. A-Train stood 30 feet away, frozen. His heart rate finally dropping. 170, 150. But the pain in his chest wasn't physical anymore. The media arrived 8 minutes later. Vought's spin team 20 minutes after that. By nightfall, the story was everywhere. Vigilante's recklessness causes building collapse, child dead. A-Train heroically responds to terrorist threat. Vought offers compensation to victims of illegal community center. But the raw footage, the unedited phone videos, told a different story. A-Train attacking first. The building collapsing from his punches. Black Dynamite pulling survivors from rubble while A-Train watched. And Jamal Harris, 14 years old, dead because Vought wanted to send a message. In his apartment, A-Train turned off the news. Sat in the dark. His phone buzzed. Madeline again. He finally answered. "It's done," he said. Voice hollow. "Good. We're controlling the narrative. You're a hero. He's a menace. This will blow over. A kid died. Collateral happens. We'll handle the family. His name was Jamal. And his family will get a 7-figure settlement and an NDA. They'll be fine." A-Train hung up. He looked at his hands. Shaking. Covered in the dust of a building he'd destroyed trying to kill a man who'd only ever tried to help. He'd been fast his whole life. But he'd never felt slower than he did right now. The funeral was held on a gray Thursday at Mount Hope Cemetery in Harlem. 73 people attended. Jamal Harris's mother, Patricia, wore black and held her composure until the casket was lowered. Then she broke, and the sound of her grief cut through the cemetery like a knife. Black Dynamite stood at the back. He hadn't been invited, but he came anyway. Stood in the rain without an umbrella. Watched the boy he'd failed to save disappear into the earth. Starlight stood beside him. She'd arrived without fanfare, without cameras, wearing civilian clothes and sunglasses that didn't hide who she was. People recognized her. Whispered. But she didn't leave. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. Black Dynamite didn't respond. "I saw the footage. What A-Train did. It wasn't your fault. I brought the fight to that building. Made it a target. Vought made it a target the moment you started organizing there." Starlight's voice had an edge. "They were always going to escalate. You just gave them an excuse. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to make you angry. At them. Not yourself." Black Dynamite watched the gravediggers begin their work. Shovelfuls of dirt covering the casket. Each one felt like an accusation. "I've been angry my whole life. Anger ain't enough. Then what is? Power." The word tasted like poison. That's what they think. That's what everyone thinks. You can't fight Vought without it. Starlight pulled something from her jacket. A small case. Inside, a single vial of compound V, medical grade. Sealed. Official. "I took this from Vought's private stock," she said. "The good stuff. Not the street formula. This is what they give new members of the Seven. Supervised. Controlled. It wouldn't kill you. It'd make you. Like you? Stronger. Fast enough to dodge A-Train. Durable enough to survive Homelander. Powerful enough to actually win." Black Dynamite stared at the vial. Blue light glowing through the rain. The same color as the poison that killed Marcus Thompson. The same color as the lie Vought sold to desperate people. Why are you offering me this? Starlight's hands shook slightly. Because I've been where you are. Fighting a system too big to beat. Watching innocent people die while I stood there with powers and still couldn't save them. And I kept asking myself, if I'd been stronger, faster, better, would it have made a difference? Would it? I don't know. But at least I'd have tried everything. She pressed the case into his hand. You're fighting gods with nunchucks. That's brave. It's honorable. But it's not enough. Jamal Harris died because a train is faster than any human can react to. Take this, and next time, maybe you're fast enough. Black Dynamite held the case. Felt its weight. It was lighter than he'd expected. And what do I become? Whatever you choose. V doesn't make you evil. It just makes you powerful. What you do with that power, that's on you. I've seen what it does. Turns people into addicts. Monsters. Corporate puppets. It can. If you let it. Starlight met his eyes. But I've also seen it save lives. I've stopped bullets meant for kids. Pulled people from burning buildings. Used this power for good. Not because Vought told me to. Because I chose to. You're still working for them. I'm working against them. From the inside. Using their resources. Their platform. Their power. Her voice hardened. You think purity makes you righteous? It just makes you a martyr. And martyrs don't win. They just die pretty. Black Dynamite looked at the vial again. Thought about A-Train's speed. Homelander's strength. The gap between what he could do and what needed to be done. If I take this, I'm admitting they're right. That power is the only thing that matters. No. You're admitting that fighting smart means using every tool available. Even the ones you hate. The rain fell harder. The funeral crowd dispersed. Patricia Harris stood alone by the grave, leaning on a woman Black Dynamite recognized as her sister. Both women looked broken. I need to talk to her, Black Dynamite said. She doesn't want to see you. Starlight's voice was soft. Her lawyer called Vought. Blamed you for the collapse. Said you brought violence to a safe space. Vaught's paying her $2 million in legal fees in exchange for her testimony. Testimony? Against you. Criminal negligence. Reckless endangerment. They're building a case. Black Dynamite's jaw tightened. Of course they were. Jamal's death wasn't a tragedy to Vought. It was a weapon. Another narrative to control. He handed the case back to Starlight. I can't. Why not? Because the moment I take that, I become what I'm fighting. I prove Vought right, that humans ain't enough. That we need their poison to matter. And every kid watching sees that and thinks the only way to be powerful is to stop being human. So you'd rather die? I'd rather die standing for something real than live as a lie. Starlight's expression twisted, frustration, respect, grief all at once. You're the most stubborn man I've ever met. I've heard that before. She put the case back in her jacket. Then I hope your stubbornness is bulletproof. Because Vaught's not done. Homelander's not done. And next time they come, they won't send A-Train. Let him come. Starlight turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you're right. About power. About what it costs. I just wish being right was enough to keep you alive. She walked away. Black Dynamite stood alone in the rain, watching the gravediggers finish their work. An hour later, he returned to his apartment. The door was unlocked. Not broken. Just unlocked. Inside, Billy Butcher sat at the kitchen table, smoking a cigarette, feet propped up like he owned the place. Heard about the funeral, Butcher said. Touching. Very moving. Did it make you feel better, or just remind you that you're pissin' in the wind? Get out. Can't do that, mate. See, you're becoming a liability. Not to Vought, they love what you're doing. Every dead kid with your name attached makes their case stronger. But to us, the boys, you're making noise without making progress. I don't work for you. No, but you're fucking up the same enemies, and your methods are getting people killed. Butcher leaned forward. So here's the deal. You take the Temp V, you work with us, and we actually hurt Vought. Or you keep playing hero, keep stacking bodies, and eventually Homelander crushes your skull on live television while the world cheers. I told you. I don't take V. Yeah, you're real principled. How's that working out? Butcher gestured to the window. Kid's dead. Building's rubble. Vought's spinning you as a terrorist. And you're what, gonna nunchuck your way out of it? Black Dynamite's fist clenched. You done? Not even close. See, I get it. You don't want to compromise. Don't want to be like them. Noble. Stupid but noble. Butcher stubbed out his cigarette. But here's what you're missing. This ain't the 70s. You can't just beat up some CIA goons and call it a win. Vought's got armies. Lawyers. Supes. They got Homelander. And you? You got bruised ribs and a death wish. I got something you don't. What's that? The truth. And people are starting to see it. Butcher laughed. The truth? Mate, Vought owns the truth. They write it. Broadcast it. Sell it. Your truth is whatever they say it is. Not forever. No. Just until you're dead. Butcher stood. Last chance? Take the V. Join the fight for real. Or keep being a symbol and see how long symbols last when gods start punching. Black Dynamite didn't answer. Butcher headed for the door, paused. When Homelander comes, and he will, don't say I didn't warn you. And don't expect anyone to remember you died for the right reasons. Dead is dead, mate. Ain't no moral victories in the ground. He left. Black Dynamite sat in the silence. His ribs ached. His hands were raw from digging through rubble. And on the table, someone, maybe Starlight, maybe Butcher, had left the case. The vial glowed softly. Tempting. Promising. A shortcut to power. To relevance. To survival. He picked it up. Held it to the light. Watched the blue liquid swirl like liquid stars. Then he walked to the sink and poured it out. The glow faded. The promise died. And Black Dynamite was just a man again. But he was a man who'd chosen himself. Chosen his principles. Chosen to fight the war on his terms, even if it killed him. Outside, Vought Tower's lights glittered against the night sky. 40 floors up, Homelander stared down at the city, waiting for his orders. And in a cemetery in Harlem, Patricia Harris wept over a grave that never should have existed. The war wasn't over. It was just getting started. Vought's strategy meeting started at 6 a.m. in the Situation Room, a space designed to look like the Pentagon but functioned like a marketing war room. Wall-mounted screens showed real-time polling data, social media sentiment graphs, and stock tickers. Madeline Stillwell stood at the head of the table, flanked by Ashley Barrett and Stan Edgar, Vought's CEO and the only person in the building Homelander feared. Stan Edgar didn't wear a costume. Didn't need one. His power was carved into quarterly earnings reports and Senate committees. He spoke quietly, precisely, like a man who knew the world would lean in to listen. Gentlemen. Ladies. We have a problem that's metastasized from nuisance to crisis. He gestured to the largest screen. Black Dynamite's face filled it. Beneath, polling data. Do you believe Supes are necessary for public safety? January, 78% yes. Today, 64% yes. Do you trust Vought International? January, 71% trust. Today, 58% trust. 14-point drop in 3 weeks. One man, Stan said. No powers. No funding. No organization. And he's eroding 40 years of market positioning. He turned to Madeline. Explain. Madeline kept her composure. Barely. Black Dynamite has become a symbol. Not of what he does, but what he represents. Human resistance to Supes' supremacy. Every time we engage him, he survives, and that survival becomes proof of concept. People are asking, if he can fight back, why can't we? So eliminate him. We tried. A-Train's mission resulted in collateral damage that strengthened Black Dynamite's position. The footage of him pulling survivors from rubble while A-Train watched went viral. 30 million views. We've been labeled as incompetent. Or worse, malicious. Stan's expression didn't change. Then don't be incompetent. Deploy the 7. Simultaneously. Overwhelming force. Documented as a coordinated response to a credible threat. Make it so decisive that the conversation shifts from "can humans fight Supes" to "why would they try?" Ashley's tablet lit up with deployment protocols. Sir, sending the 7 against one civilian could be perceived as necessary. Stan interrupted. He's not a civilian anymore. He's an insurgent. Frame it that way. EPA reports fabricated weapons caches, ties to domestic terror cells. Build the narrative, then deploy. Homelander, who'd been silent until now, leaned back in his chair. So I finally get to kill him? No, Stan said. You get to stop him. Alive, if possible. Martyrs are dangerous. We want him broken. Discredited. Institutionalized. A cautionary tale, not a rallying cry. And if he resists? Then you use the minimum necessary force. In front of cameras. With witnesses. Make it look reluctant. Make it look like you gave him every chance. Stan's eyes went cold. But if he dies, it's because he escalated. Not you. The meeting ended with deployment orders. The 7 would converge on Harlem at 8 p.m. Every network would be notified. Every camera positioned. Vought would control the narrative down to the frame rate. Black Dynamite knew they were coming. He'd felt it the moment Ashley's news conference hit the airwaves. The fabricated intelligence reports. The anonymous tips about weapon stockpiles in his neighborhood. The talking heads on CNN debating whether vigilantes should be classified as domestic terrorists. Vought was setting the stage. And the finale was coming tonight. He'd evacuated the neighborhood, or tried to. Went door to door warning people. But this was Harlem. People didn't run from their homes because a corporation told them to. They'd survived gentrification, economic collapse, police brutality. They weren't leaving for Vought. So Black Dynamite gave them something else, a plan. By 7 p.m., 135th Street looked empty. Abandoned. But in the buildings, behind boarded windows, 50 residents waited with cameras, phones, and instructions. Document everything. No matter what happens, the world needs to see. Black Dynamite stood in the center of the street, unarmed except for his nunchucks. He'd considered guns. Explosives. But this wasn't about killing. It was about exposure. About forcing Vought to show the world what they really were when the cameras weren't controlled. At 7:58 p.m., the sky darkened. Not with clouds. With arrivals. Homelander descended first, landing with his signature precision. Cape perfect. Smile camera ready. Queen Maeve landed second, her expression unreadable behind her helmet. The Deep emerged from a manhole, grinning like he'd just won a prize. Water streamed from his suit. Black Noir materialized from shadows, silent, predatory. And in the distance, hovering with arms crossed, starlight conflicted but present. A-Train wasn't deployed. Too volatile. Too compromised. Homelander's voice echoed through a dozen news helicopters circling above. Black Dynamite. You're under arrest for domestic terrorism, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, and assault on Vought personnel. Surrender now, and this ends peacefully. Black Dynamite didn't move. You came to kill me. Do it without the speech. We came to stop you, Maeve said, stepping forward. Her voice carried reluctance. Don't make this what they want it to be. It already is what they want. I'm just making sure the world sees it. The Deep laughed. Dude, you're like 70. This is sad. Just give up. Black Dynamite's eyes stayed on Homelander. You gonna let him do the talking? Or you gonna say what you really wanna say? Homelander's smile tightened. What I want to say is that you've had every chance. We offered you help. Offered you power. Offered you a way out. You chose this. I chose to stand against you. That ain't the same as choosing to die. In this world? Homelander's eyes glowed faint red. Yeah. It is. The first attack came from the deep. Overconfident. Theatrical. He raised his arms, and the fire hydrants lining the street exploded. Water surged like tidal waves, controlled by his will, crashing toward Black Dynamite in a wall of pressurized liquid. Black Dynamite had prepared for this. Pulled a lever hidden beneath a manhole cover. The street's drainage system, modified over 3 days with Frenchie's reluctant help, reversed the flow. The water redirected, flooding back toward the deep. The Supes stumbled, shocked. His own attack swamped him, slamming him into a parked car. Homelander didn't laugh. Maeve. Noir. Secure him. They moved simultaneously. Maeve from the left, Noir from the right. Pincer formation. Black Dynamite couldn't outrun them. Couldn't overpower them. But he'd turned the neighborhood into a weapon. Maeve's first step triggered a tripwire. 50 pounds of industrial ball bearings dumped from a second-story window. She tanked them. They bounced off her armor, but the distraction cost her half a second. Black Noir lunged from the shadows. Silent. Lethal. Blades drawn. Black Dynamite rolled, came up with a chain wrapped around his fist. Swung it at Noir's knee. The strike connected, not hard enough to injure, but enough to surprise. Noir hadn't expected resistance. Hadn't expected strategy. The second swing went for Noir's mask. Caught the edge. Didn't crack it, but forced Noir back a step. That's when Maeve grabbed Black Dynamite from behind. Lifted him off the ground. Her grip was iron. Stop fighting, she hissed in his ear. You're going to die. Then let me die on my feet. She hesitated. Just for a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, Black Dynamite drove his elbow backward into her solar plexus. Not enough to hurt her, she was invulnerable. But enough to remind her he wasn't surrendering. Maeve threw him. 30 feet. He crashed through a storefront window, glass shredding his jacket. Homelander floated closer, heat vision warming. Last chance. Black Dynamite pulled himself up. Blood dripped from a dozen cuts. Ribs screamed. But he stood. You already said that. Then I lied. The heat vision fired. Black Dynamite dove behind a car. The beams cut through it like butter, melting steel, igniting gasoline. The explosion threw him into a brick wall. He didn't get up. For 10 seconds the street was silent. Then Homelander landed beside the wreckage. Cameras zoomed in. The world watched. Somebody get a med team, Homelander said, voice heavy with false concern. This man needs help. Black Dynamite's hand moved. Grabbed Homelander's boot. Homelander looked down, genuinely surprised. Black Dynamite's other hand held a detonator. You want me? You're gonna have to earn it. He pressed the button. The explosions were small, shaped charges buried in the street's foundation. Not meant to kill. Meant to collapse. The road caved inward, creating a sinkhole 30 feet wide. Homelander flew clear. The others scrambled. But Black Dynamite fell into the collapse, disappearing into the city's underground, sewers, subway tunnels, forgotten infrastructure. Homelander hovered over the hole, furious. Find him. Now. Black Noir dropped into the darkness without hesitation. And in the buildings, behind every window, cameras kept rolling. 50 witnesses. 100 angles. Vought's controlled narrative obliterated by raw footage of Supes laying siege to a neighborhood. The hunt had just begun. But the story was already out of Vought's hands. The tunnels beneath Harlem were a maze of forgotten infrastructure. Storm drains from the 1920s. Abandoned subway extensions. Maintenance corridors that hadn't seen city workers in decades. Black Dynamite moved through them like a ghost, ignoring the pain radiating from his ribs, the blood soaking through his jacket. Above-ground chaos. Police cordons. News helicopters. Vought's PR team scrambling to control a narrative that was fracturing in real time across every social media platform. Below-ground silence. Darkness. And somewhere close, the sound of footsteps that made no sound. Black noir. Black Dynamite pressed himself against a concrete wall, controlling his breathing. Blood dripped from his cuts, leaving a trail. Amateur mistake. But his vision was blurring, and the concussion from Homelander's heat vision was making it hard to think straight. A blade whispered through the air. Black Dynamite moved on instinct. The knife embedded in concrete where his head had been. Noir emerged from the darkness like a nightmare given form. No words. No theatrics. Just pure, efficient violence. Black Dynamite swung his nunchucks. Noir caught them mid-strike. Twisted. The weapon clattered away into the dark. They fought hand-to-hand in the confined space. Black Dynamite had 40 years of experience. Noir had superhuman speed and strength. Every block Black Dynamite threw cost him. Every strike Noir landed felt like getting hit with a sledgehammer. Black Dynamite went for the eyes. The throat. The joints. Anywhere a human would be vulnerable. But Noir wasn't human anymore, if he ever was. The soup absorbed the punishment and kept coming. A knee to the stomach folded Black Dynamite. A punch to the jaw sent him sprawling. Noir stood over him, drawing another blade. Black Dynamite's hand found something in the water. Broken glass. A shard the size of a knife. When Noir lunged, Black Dynamite drove it upward. Not at Noir's body. That was armored. At the gap between helmet and collar. 6 inches of exposed neck. The glass pierced skin. Noir stumbled back, hand going to his throat. Not a killing wound. But a bleeding wound. Proof he could be hurt. Black Dynamite didn't wait. He ran deeper into the tunnels, leaving Noir clutching his neck in the darkness. Above ground 8:47 p.m. The footage was everywhere. 50 different angles of the 7 laying siege to a residential neighborhood. Homelander's heat vision destroying property. The deep's water attack flooding streets. The explosion. The collapse. And most damaging, Black Dynamite's last words before detonating the charges, caught crystal clear on a dozen phones. You want me? You're gonna have to earn it. One man. No powers. Making gods work for it. Twitter erupted. Hashtag Black Dynamite Resistance 2.3 million tweets. Hashtag Vought 1.8 million tweets. Hashtag Superheroes or Oppressors trending worldwide. CNN's anchor spoke carefully, reading from a script that legal had triple-checked. What we're witnessing appears to be a coordinated law enforcement action by Vought International's superhero division. However, the scale of force being deployed against a single individual has raised questions about proportionality and... The feed cut. Replaced by a Vought statement. Ashley Barrett appeared on screen, composed despite the disaster unfolding. Vought International takes public safety seriously. Black Dynamite is a credible threat who has assaulted multiple heroes, destroyed property, and endangered civilian lives. The 7 are executing a lawful apprehension in accordance with the Superhuman Armed Response Act of 2009. We urge all residents to remain indoors while this operation concludes. The statement was clinical, professional, completely ineffective. Because side by side with it, independent streamers were broadcasting the raw footage. Grandmothers filming from their windows. Teenagers live streaming from fire escapes. The narrative Vought wanted, heroes stopping a terrorist, was being drowned by the narrative people saw, gods hunting a man through his own neighborhood. At Vought Tower, Stan Edgar watched the split-screen feeds with the expression of a man calculating losses. How bad? He asked. Madeline's voice was tight. Stock down 6%. Congressional inquiries incoming. The UN Human Rights Council just announced an emergency session to discuss proportional use of superhuman force in domestic contexts. And Homelander? Still searching. He wants to finish this personally. Of course he does. Stan turned off the monitors. Pull the 7 back. Except Homelander. Let him hunt. Let him find Black Dynamite. And when he does, make sure every camera we control is dark. No Vought footage. No official record. Sir? If Homelander kills him, it needs to look like an accident. A tragedy. Not an execution. The independent footage will show chaos. We'll show aftermath. Grief. A hero who tried to save a misguided man but couldn't. And if the footage shows, it won't matter what it shows if Black Dynamite is dead. Martyrs are powerful, but they're not immortal. The conversation will shift from can we resist, to what's the cost of resisting? Fear is more sustainable than hope. Madeline nodded. Sent the orders. One by one, the 7 retreated. Maeve looked relieved. The Deep looked annoyed. Black Noir emerged from the tunnels, hands still pressed to his throat, and said nothing. Only Homelander remained, circling the neighborhood like a predator who tasted blood and wanted more. Underground 9:15 p.m. Black Dynamite collapsed against a tunnel wall, finally allowing himself to feel the damage. 3 cracked ribs. Concussion. Lacerations across his back and arms. His vision kept doubling, and every breath felt like swallowing glass. He'd bought time. Scattered them. Survived longer than anyone expected. But survival wasn't victory. And time was running out. His phone buzzed. Somehow, impossibly, it still worked. Butcher. Saw the show. Butcher's voice was rough with something that might have been respect. You're tougher than you look. Also dumber. You calling to gloat? I'm calling to extract you. We've got a van 2 blocks north. Storm drain access at 138th. Get there in 10 minutes, we'll get you out. Can't. Why the fuck not? Because running proves them right. That humans can't fight Supes. That resistance ends in retreat. Resistance ends in death, you stubborn bastard. You proved your point. Now live to fight another day. Black Dynamite closed his eyes. The exhaustion was overwhelming. I'm not running. Not from this. Then you're gonna die in a sewer. That the legacy you want? Black Dynamite great at tunnels, bad at strategy? Better than dying in bed knowing I quit. Butcher was silent for a moment. When Homelander finds you, and he will, he's gonna make it hurt. Slow. Painful. Recorded. Vought will spin it as self-defense, and you'll just be another dead idealist. Then tell people what really happened. Show them the footage. Make it mean something. You're putting a lot of faith in people giving a shit. I'm putting faith in the truth. Eventually enough people see it, and even Vought can't control it. Butcher laughed bitterly. You really are from the 70s. Alright, Dynamite. Die your way. But I'm recording everything. And when you're gone, I'm burning Vought to the fucking ground in your name. The line went dead. Black Dynamite stood. Stumbled. Forced himself upright. His nunchucks were gone. His weapons spent. All he had left was himself. And above, Homelander's X-ray vision finally found him. The confrontation 9:34 p.m. The tunnel exploded inward. Not from an entrance. Homelander simply made one, tearing through concrete and rebar like tissue paper. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, he stood silhouetted against the night sky, cape billowing, eyes glowing red. There you are. Black Dynamite faced him. No weapons. No escape. Just a man and a god in a broken tunnel beneath Harlem. Took you long enough. Homelander floated closer. You've been impressive. I'll give you that. Lasting this long. Making us work for it. But it's over now. And I want you to understand something before we finish this. I'm listening. You think you're a hero. A symbol. Someone fighting for truth and justice and all that bullshit. But you're not. You're a problem. A glitch in the system. And systems correct glitches. Systems that need correcting are broken. No. Homelander's smile was savage. Systems that work efficiently remove obstacles. And you? You're the biggest fucking obstacle I've ever had to deal with. Not because you're strong. Not because you're dangerous. But because you make people question. Good. No. Not good. Questions lead to doubt. Doubt leads to chaos. Chaos leads to people dying because they thought they could be heroes without powers. You're not inspiring resistance. You're inspiring suicide. Black Dynamite's voice was steady despite the pain. You're scared I'm right. I'm scared of nothing. You're scared that if people realize they don't need you, you become irrelevant. That all your power, all your fame, all your godhood amounts to nothing if humans decide they can protect themselves. Homelander's fist clenched. Humans can't protect themselves. That's the point. That's the whole fucking point. Without us, you're prey. Weak. Vulnerable. We're the only thing standing between you and extinction. No. You're the thing standing between us and freedom. The heat vision fired. Black Dynamite dodged, barely. The beam grazed his shoulder, cauterizing flesh, spinning him into the wall. He hit hard. Stayed down. Homelander landed beside him. Grabbed him by the throat. Lifted him like he weighed nothing. Last words? Make them good. I'm recording this. Black Dynamite met his eyes. Smiled through the blood. You already lost. How do you figure? Because everyone's watching. And they're seeing what you really are. Homelander looked up. In the buildings. The windows. Cameras. Dozens of them. Filming everything. He could destroy them. Laser every phone. Kill every witness. But that would prove Black Dynamite's point more than anything else could. They're seeing me stop a terrorist, Homelander said carefully. They're seeing you break a man who wouldn't bow. And they're gonna remember which one of us needed superpowers to win. Homelander's grip tightened. Black Dynamite's vision went dark at the edges. This was it. The end. He'd fought his fight. Made his stand. And then Homelander did something unexpected. He lowered Black Dynamite. Gently. Let him crumple to the ground. No, Homelander said quietly. I'm not making you a martyr. I'm making you nothing. He turned to the cameras. Smile back in place. Voice projected with perfect clarity. Black Dynamite has been apprehended. He'll receive medical treatment and a psychological evaluation. Clearly, this man needs help. And Vought provides help to everyone, even those who attack us. Because that's what heroes do. He flew away. Left Black Dynamite alive. Broken. Bleeding. But alive. And in that moment, Black Dynamite understood, this was worse than death. Homelander wasn't killing him. He was pitying him. Reducing him from threat to tragedy. From symbol to cautionary tale. The medics arrived within minutes. Vought medics. They loaded him onto a stretcher with rehearsed efficiency. You're going to be okay, one of them said. We're taking you somewhere safe. But Black Dynamite knew what that meant. Somewhere controlled. Somewhere Vought could manage the narrative. Somewhere he'd disappear. As they carried him away, he looked at the cameras still filming. And he spoke. Loud enough for the microphones to catch. My name is Black Dynamite. I'm a human being. And I don't need powers to know right from wrong. Remember that. When they tell you I was sick. When they tell you I was dangerous. When they tell you resistance is futile. Remember a 70-year-old man with nunchucks made gods bleed. And ask yourself, what could you do if you tried? The stretcher disappeared into a Vought ambulance. The cameras kept rolling. And across America, in living rooms and bedrooms and phones clutched in trembling hands, people watched. Some cried. Some cheered. Some felt something they hadn't felt in years when looking at Supes. Hope. Dangerous, infectious, impossible to control hope. Vought had won the battle. But they just lost the war. The facility wasn't a hospital. Black Dynamite knew that the moment he woke up. Hospitals had noise, machines beeping, nurses talking, the ambient chaos of people fighting death. This place had silence. Sterile. Complete. The kind of silence that meant you were somewhere nobody would look for you. His wrists were restrained to the bed. Medical-grade cuffs. Soft enough to avoid bruising, strong enough to hold. The room was white. No windows. One camera in the corner, red light blinking. A doctor entered. Middle-aged. Vought Medical Services badge. Sympathetic smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Williams, may I call you that? Black Dynamite seems so theatrical. The doctor checked a tablet. You've sustained significant trauma. Broken ribs. Concussion. Lacerations. You're lucky to be alive. Where am I? A private medical facility. Vought operates several for enhanced individuals and unique cases. You're receiving excellent care. I ain't enhanced. No. But you attacked enhanced individuals. That makes you a unique case. The doctor sat. I'm Dr. Brennan. I specialize in delusional disorder and late-stage psychological trauma. I'm here to help you. Black Dynamite tested the restraints. They didn't budge. I don't need help. I need to leave. I'm afraid that's not possible. You've been placed on a psychiatric hold. The footage of your incident shows clear signs of psychotic break. Attacking superheroes. Rigging explosives in residential areas. Putting civilians at risk. These aren't the actions of a rational person. These are the actions of someone fighting back. Against whom? Dr. Brennan leaned forward. Vought provides services to millions. Supes save lives daily. What exactly are you fighting? A system that poisons communities and calls it empowerment. Compound V has been approved by the FDA. Extensively tested. The success rate. I watched a 15-year-old boy die from your success rate. Dr. Brennan made a note. Marcus Thompson. Yes. Tragic. But he obtained Compound V illegally. From unauthorized distributors. That's not Vought's fault. That's criminal enterprise exploiting vulnerable populations. Vought actually works to stop illegal V distribution. Black Dynamite would have laughed if it didn't hurt so much. You're really good at this. The spin. Making poison sound like medicine. I'm really good at helping people distinguish between reality and paranoid ideation. Another note. Tell me about the 70s. Your previous activities. The CIA operations you claim to have disrupted. I didn't claim. I did it. According to declassified records, there were incidents. Vigilante activity. But you were never convicted. Never identified conclusively. Some historians suggest the Black Dynamite figure was an urban legend. A composite of multiple individuals. Not one person at all. I'm sitting right here. A person claiming to be Black Dynamite is sitting here. A person who may have constructed an elaborate identity around historical folklore. It's not uncommon. Especially in individuals experiencing late-life relevance anxiety. Black Dynamite's jaw tightened. This was the play. Erase him. Not by killing him, but by convincing the world he never existed. That he was a confused old man playing dress-up. People saw me fight. It's on camera. People saw someone resist apprehension and endanger a neighborhood. The identity of that person is still being determined. Dr. Brennan stood. You'll remain here for observation. 72 hours minimum. We'll run cognitive tests. Evaluate your stability. And hopefully, help you understand that what you think you're fighting isn't real. And if I don't cooperate? Then the hold extends. Indefinitely. Until we're certain you're not a danger to yourself or others. The doctor moved to the door. I genuinely want to help you, Mr. Williams. But you have to let me. The door closed. Locked. The camera blinked. Black Dynamite was alone. 72 hours later, Vought Tower. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. Every major outlet attended. Ashley Barrett stood at the podium, flanked by Dr. Brennan and a Vought legal representative. 3 days ago, an individual claiming to be Black Dynamite, a figure from 1970s urban folklore, initiated a violent confrontation with Vought heroes in Harlem. This individual, whose real name is George Williams, is a 73-year-old retired sanitation worker suffering from advanced dementia and delusional disorder. The assembled press scribbled notes. Cameras rolled. Mr. Williams has been placed in protective care at a private medical facility where he's receiving treatment. We want to emphasize, this was not a terrorist attack. This was a medical emergency. A sick man who needed help and tragically lashed out instead of accepting it. A reporter raised her hand. The footage shows him fighting highly trained superheroes with significant skill. How does dementia? Muscle memory. Dr. Brennan interjected. Mr. Williams has a military background. Vietnam. Those reflexes don't disappear even when cognitive function declines. What looked like skill was actually instinctive response combined with improvised weapons. Dangerous, but not indicative of tactical planning. Another reporter. What about the statements he made? About compound V killing children? Ashley handled this one. Mr. Williams lost a family member to illegal compound V use. That trauma, combined with his declining mental state, created a fixation. He blamed Vought for something criminals did. It's heartbreaking, but it's not factual. So the footage of the 7 attacking him, responding to him, Ashley corrected. After he'd rigged explosives and endangered dozens of civilians. Our heroes showed remarkable restraint. Homelander personally ensured Mr. Williams survived and received treatment. That's the real story, a hero saving a sick man's life. The narrative was airtight, fact-checked, legally bulletproof. And across social media, it was dying on arrival. Because while Vought held their press conference, something else was happening. The broadcast. At exactly 2:15 p.m., 15 minutes into Vought's press conference, every major independent news outlet received the same email. No sender address. No explanation. Just a link and 3 words. The real story. The link led to an unlisted YouTube video. Runtime 18 minutes. Title: Black Dynamite vs. The Machine. Full documentation. It was everything. Every camera angle from the Harlem siege, compiled and edited with brutal precision. But more than that, it included footage from before. The community center. Kids learning self-defense. Jamal Harris, alive, laughing, practicing blocks. Then A-Train's attack. The building collapse. Jamal's body pulled from rubble. Then the funeral. Patricia Harris weeping. Then the siege. Every moment. Every excessive use of force. Every time a Supe attacked first. Every word Black Dynamite said. And at the end, the ambulance footage. Black Dynamite's last statement. Remember, a 70-year-old man with nunchucks made gods bleed. And ask yourself, what could you do if you tried? The video ended with a single line of text. George Williams is not Black Dynamite. Black Dynamite is an idea. And ideas don't get dementia. Within 30 minutes, 5 million views. Within 2 hours, 20 million views. By the evening news cycle, trending #1 globally. Ashley's press conference was drowned out. The narrative she'd built collapsed. Not because Vought was caught lying, they'd been caught lying before. But because the video made people feel something. Anger. Inspiration. The dangerous idea that maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to accept Supes' supremacy as inevitable. Inside the facility. Black Dynamite heard none of this. He was in his 4th therapy session, which was really an interrogation disguised as mental health treatment. Dr. Brennan was frustrated now. The professional veneer cracking. Who helped you? The explosives. The evacuation plan? The cameras. You didn't do that alone. I told you. I work alone. You're lying. We've traced equipment purchases. Burner phones. There's a network. The boys. We know they're involved. Black Dynamite smiled. You're scared. I'm concerned. No. You're scared. Because that video went out, didn't it? The one you couldn't stop. And now people are asking questions you can't answer with press releases. Dr. Brennan stood abruptly. You're going to stay here until you cooperate. Until you name names. Until you dismantle whatever organization you're part of. I'm part of the truth. You can't dismantle that. We've dismantled bigger threats than you. Have you? Black Dynamite met his eyes. Because from where I'm sitting, Vought's losing. Stocks dropping. Congress is investigating. People are asking why gods need billion-dollar corporations to function. And no amount of therapy sessions is gonna stop that. The doctor left without another word. Black Dynamite lay back, closed his eyes, and for the first time in 3 days, allowed himself to hope. Because he'd done it. Not the way he'd planned. Not with a clean victory. But he'd cracked Vought's armor. Shown the world that Supes could be resisted. That power without accountability was just tyranny in a cape. The door opened again. Not Dr. Brennan. Homelander. He entered slowly. No cameras. No witnesses. Just raw, unfiltered malice in human form. Congratulations, Homelander said quietly. You won. The public loves you. The video's everywhere. My approval rating dropped 8 points. 8. Fucking points. Black Dynamite said nothing. Homelander sat on the edge of the bed. Leaned close. But here's what you don't understand. I don't need approval ratings. I don't need Vought. I don't need anything. I could level this building. This city. This entire country. And nobody could stop me. Then why don't you? The question hung in the air. Homelander's jaw clenched. Because I'm a hero. Because I'm better than that. No. Because you're terrified. Terrified that if you show people what you really are, they'll stop loving you. And without their love, you're just a monster in a cape. Homelander's hand shot out. Gripped Black Dynamite's throat. Squeezed. Not hard enough to kill. Hard enough to hurt. I could end you right now. Snap your neck. Blame it on your failing health. Nobody would question it. Then do it. Homelander's grip tightened. Black Dynamite's vision blurred. This was it. The moment Homelander stopped caring about optics and embraced his nature. But the grip loosened. Homelander stood. Trembling. Not with fear. With restraint. The effort of not killing when every instinct screamed to. You're not worth it, he said finally. You're not worth proving you right. He walked to the door. Paused. Enjoy your victory, old man. Because it's the last one you'll ever have. The world might love you today. But tomorrow, they'll forget. They always do. And I'll still be here. Still be Homelander. Still be a god. He left. Black Dynamite lay in the silence, throat bruised, ribs screaming, but alive. And somewhere in the facility, a maintenance worker who was paid very little but believed very much hit send on an email containing the security footage of Homelander's visit. The video would drop in 6 hours. And this time, even Vought couldn't spin it. The congressional hearing began on a gray Monday morning, 3 weeks after the Harlem siege. The chamber was packed. Senators, journalists, protesters outside chanting slogans that ranged from defund Vought to protect our heroes. The fracture in public opinion had become a chasm, and Congress was being forced to choose a side. At the center table, Stan Edgar, Madeline Stillwell, Ashley Barrett. At the witness table, Billy Butcher, granted immunity in exchange for testimony. and via video link from the medical facility, Black Dynamite, still restrained, but conscious and clear-eyed. Senator Caldwell, chair of the Armed Services Committee, opened with a statement that tried to satisfy everyone and succeeded in satisfying no one. We're here to examine the events of February 14th and determine whether current oversight of superhuman assets is adequate. This is not a trial. This is a fact-finding mission. The first 3 hours were predictable. Vought's lawyers presented the narrative. Black Dynamite was mentally ill. The 7 responded appropriately. Compound V was FDA approved. Any illegal distribution was criminal enterprise, not corporate malfeasance. Then Billy Butcher spoke. You want to know the truth? The whole fucking truth? He leaned into the microphone. Vought doesn't make heroes. They make products. And when products malfunction, when Supes kill civilians, when they rape, when they go on power trips, Vought covers it up. Pays off families. Buries evidence. I've got documentation of 47 incidents in the last decade alone where Supes committed crimes and Vought made them disappear. He slid a folder across the table, including Compound V distribution in low-income neighborhoods as market research, including secret testing facilities, including a program called Project Redline where they deliberately dosed civilians without consent to test formulas. The chamber erupted. Stan Edgar remained calm. These allegations are unsubstantiated. Mr. Butcher has a documented history of violence against enhanced individuals. His testimony is motivated by personal vendetta, not. Then explain this. A screen lit up. The security footage from the facility. Homelander entering Black Dynamite's room. The threat. The hands around the throat. The naked admission. I could level this city and nobody could stop me. The silence was absolute. Homelander wasn't present at the hearing. He'd refused to attend, citing operational security. But his absence spoke volumes. Senator Garcia, a former prosecutor, leaned forward. Mr. Edgar, you're telling us that the world's most powerful Supe threatened a restrained civilian in your custody, and you don't see a problem with that? Homelander was emotional. The video was taken out of context. What context makes throttling a defenseless man acceptable? Stan Edgar had no answer that would work. And then Black Dynamite spoke. May I say something? The chairman nodded. Mr. Williams. Or should we call you Black Dynamite? Call me whatever you want. Names don't matter. What matters is this: I'm not special. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who saw evil and refused to accept it. That's all. I didn't need powers. I didn't need permission. I just needed to give a damn. He looked directly at the camera. Speaking to America. Vought wants you to believe you're helpless without Supes. That humans are weak. That we need gods to save us. But that's a lie. We don't need gods. We need each other. We need communities that protect their own. We need people who stand up when it's hard. Not because they're invulnerable, but because they're brave. His voice strengthened despite the bruises. Marcus Thompson didn't need Compound V. He needed a safe neighborhood and good schools and a future that didn't require him to gamble with poison. Jamal Harris didn't need Supes. He needed a building that didn't collapse when profit margins mattered more than safety. Every kid in Harlem doesn't need heroes. They need justice. Real justice. Not the kind Vought sells. Senator Caldwell cleared his throat. Mr. Williams, are you suggesting we should eliminate superhuman law enforcement entirely? I'm suggesting we hold Supes to the same standards as everyone else. That badge don't make you above the law. Powers don't make you righteous. And corporations sure as hell shouldn't control who gets to define justice. More eruption. Cheers from the gallery. Senators arguing. Ashley frantically texting damage control teams. The hearing went on for 6 more hours. By the end, 3 major outcomes emerged. 1. Independent Oversight Committee for all Vought superhuman operations. 2. Criminal investigation into illegal compound V distribution. 3. Suspension of Homelander's active duty pending psychological evaluation. It wasn't everything. But it was a crack in the armor. 2 weeks later, release. The facility doors opened on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Black Dynamite walked out into sunlight for the first time in 5 weeks. No ceremony. No press conference. Vought had quietly released him once the legal pressure became unsustainable. Billy Butcher was waiting with the van. "You look like shit," Butcher said. "Feel like it too. Come on. We got people want to meet you." They drove to Harlem. To the ruins of the community center. Except it wasn't ruins anymore. The neighborhood had rebuilt it. Not with Vought money. Not with government grants. With their own hands. Volunteers. Donations. A community taking care of itself. Over the door, a hand-painted sign. Black Dynamite Community Center, no gods required. Inside, 50 people. Kids. Parents. Elderly folks. The ones who'd stayed. Who'd filmed. Who'd refused to let Vaught's narrative win. They cheered when he entered. Not like he was a hero. Like he was one of them. Patricia Harris was there. Jamal's mother. She approached slowly. "I blamed you," she said. "For what happened to my boy. Vought paid me to say you caused it. And I believed them because I needed someone to blame who wasn't a god." Black Dynamite's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. I should've." "No." She held up a hand. "You did what nobody else would. You fought back. And because of you, Congress is investigating. Because of you, people are asking questions. Jamal died. That's on Vought. That's on A-Train. But what you did after. You made it mean something." She hugged him. Hard. And Black Dynamite, who'd fought CIA operatives and crime lords and literal superhumans, broke down crying in the middle of a community center built from rubble and hope. Vought Tower, same day. Homelander stood in his apartment, watching the news coverage of Black Dynamite's release. His reflection in the window looked back, perfect hair, perfect costume, perfect smile. But behind the glass, his eyes were hollow. His approval rating had stabilized at 62%. Not catastrophic, but not invincible. For the first time in his life, he'd encountered something he couldn't punch into submission, an idea. Black Dynamite wasn't a threat because he was strong. He was a threat because he made people believe they didn't need Homelander. And nothing terrified him more than irrelevance. Madeline entered without knocking. "We need to talk about damage control." "Get out. Homelander, the board wants." "I said get out." She left. Quickly. Homelander turned back to the window. Somewhere out there, in a community center in Harlem, people were celebrating a human. An ordinary, powerless, fragile human who'd made gods look foolish. He could kill Black Dynamite. And this. But it wouldn't matter anymore. The symbol had transcended the man. And symbols were bulletproof. For the first time in his life, Homelander felt something he'd never experienced. Fear that he was losing. 6 months later. The #Human Resistance movement had spread to 17 cities. Community centers modeled after Harlem's opened in Detroit, Atlanta, Oakland, Chicago. Places where people learned self-defense, organized mutual aid, and rejected Vaught's narrative. Compound V distribution dropped 34%. Superlated incidents decreased as communities policed themselves. Congressional oversight forced Vought to accept independent monitoring of all superhuman deployments. It wasn't a revolution. But it was a shift. Black Dynamite worked at the Harlem Center, teaching self-defense to kids who looked at him like he was someone worth listening to. His ribs had healed. The bruises faded. But the memory of what he'd proven remained. One evening, a teenager named Marcus, named after Marcus Thompson, asked him, "Do you think we'll ever not need Supes?" Black Dynamite considered the question. Looked at the kid. At the center. at the community that had rebuilt itself. "We've never needed them," he said. "We just thought we did. That's the difference between power and strength. Power is what you have. Strength is what you do when you ain't got nothing but conviction." The kid nodded. Didn't fully understand, but would someday. As the center closed for the night, Black Dynamite stood outside, looking at the city. Somewhere out there, Vought was plotting. Homelander was brooding. The machine was recalibrating. But here, in this neighborhood, people had learned something Vought couldn't sell and Homelander couldn't destroy. They didn't need gods. They needed each other. And no amount of compound could replicate that. Black Dynamite never became a Supe. Never took Compound V. Never compromised his principles for power. He did something more dangerous. He proved that humans could resist. Vought survived the scandal. Homelander kept his position. The Seven continued operations. But the myth of Supe invincibility was broken. The narrative that humans needed superhuman protectors was fractured. Congressional oversight became permanent. Independent investigations uncovered Project Redline and 3 other illegal testing programs. Vought stock recovered, but their absolute control never did. Black Dynamite lived another 8 years. Died in his sleep at 81. The funeral drew thousands, not because he defeated evil, but because he'd refused to surrender to it. His legacy wasn't in what he destroyed. It was in what he built, a movement that said, no, to power without accountability. That chose community over gods. That proved integrity mattered more than invincibility. The Harlem Community Center still stands. The sign still reads, "No gods required." And every kid who walks through those doors learns the same lesson Black Dynamite taught. The real heroes never had powers. They just refused to kneel. The end. Call to action. If you enjoyed this story, drop a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what other characters would you want to see enter the boys' universe? This ain't over. The resistance continues. Flex biceps, raise fist.